Hello everyone, welcome back to Virtual Lab Infra once again in my Windows Server Training Series. In today's session, we are going to understand DNS, which stands Domain Name System, one of the most important service in any infrastructure. So we'll discuss what is DNS, why it is important, and how it works in real environments. So let's get started, guys. So let's understand what exactly DNS is. So DNS stands for Domain Naming System. It likes a phone book of internet. Instead of remembering long string numbers like IP addresses, DNS lets you use easy to remember names like google.com, example.com, etc. to visit any website. So every device on the internet has an IP address. But DNS allows you to type a simple web address like example.com in our example and connect to the website without knowing the IP address. So without DNS, you must remember your IP address. No easy browsing. So no domain-based communication will happen. So in enterprise environment, like our lab, DNS is required for Active Directory. It helps in a domain joining. So when you are joining a computer to domain, it should have compulsory DNS server and the DNS records that we will discuss later available in your computer. So how DNS works? So let's understand the flow step by step. So users, let's say you are a client or a user, you types google.com or example.com in your browser, request goes to DNS server and checks the local cache of your computer first and the DNS record. If not found, the forward it forwards to external DNS and it returns the IP address. So let's understand the exact flow here in this diagram. So let's say you are sitting here, and you are browsing something, let's say www.example.com from your device. So what it happens, first your request goes to DNS resolver. So DNS resolver is nothing but your local ISP provider. Let's say in your case, if you are using your Airtel broadband or Geo, it goes to your Airtel ISP provider or Geo ISP provider and it looks for the IP address or the DNS cache. If it is not available, it forwards the request to root server. So root server, what it does, it request it sends the request back to DNS resolver, says that to get the more information about the IP address or the details, you should go to top level domain, which is TLD server. TLD server stores all the top level domain called .com, .org, .in, .live. All these kind of extensions or top level domains are available in TLD server. So if you look at it, our example, our domain name is www.example.com. So .com actually it locates in the top level domain and look for .com and it sends the, if it is .com or .org or .in, so according to these extensions, your top level domain server routes the request to authoritative server. Now authoritative serve as per the uh, top level domain extension, which is .com or .org or .in. It looks for its database and provides the IP address from there to DNS resolver and from DNS resolver to your device. That is how when you type in www.com, example.com, facebook.com or google.com, it appears in your browser with the website. So in the simple term, guys, your DNS is a translator which translate your domain name to IP address or IP address to domain name. So In DNS, we have different types of records available which help you to communicate your devices within the domain. So we have a record. A record is nothing but it helps your domain converts your domain name to IP address, which we just now we have discussed. Similarly, we have CNAME records. So CNAME record is similar to a record. Sorry, CNAME record is points one domain name to another, like website or multiple. So let's say your server is, let's say Windows, let's say Windows app server 01 dot virtuallabinfra.com. So let's say this is your server. So what exactly CNAME does? So let's say there are one more server called web app server, web application server dot virtuallabinfra.com. So with once CNAME is nothing but alias name. So it points one domain name. Let's say your domain name is something called uh, test test test.lab. Your CNAME alias name you want to give for your application. Let's say test.lab.com. So now you want this CNAME or alias to be mapped to multiple server. So let's say for this server as well as this server. So now this alias name can be mapped to both the server. So which means your CNAME record points one domain name to another, used when website have a multiple names. Similarly, we have max record. MX record is nothing but max record. Max record is used for mail servers. So directly emails to the correct mail server for a domain name. Similarly, SRV records. SRV records are very important, guys. Like specify the services for a specific services like email, voice calls. So this SRV, without SRV record, you cannot make your communication like an email or voice calls. Then we have PTR records. PTR records are the opposite of your A record. So here PTR records converts your IP address to name address, which generally called reverse lookup. And then text records. Text records are verification or security purposes, like can store any text often used on security based protocols. So why DNS is important? So DNS crucial because it makes the internet easy to use by allowing us to remember names instead of numbers. So it also ensures that when you type in the web address or type in the websites in web address, you are sent to the right place. So without DNS, the internet would be much harder to navigate. So some kind of DNS challenges are like outage. If DNS server fails, if your DNS server fails, website can become unreachable. Security threats like DNS is target for hacker who may launch attacks like DDoS or cache poisoning, which can take down large portion of the internet. Misconfigurations. So a small mistakes in configurations, it makes a DNS setup can be lead to website being down. So monitoring DNS is the most important part of safeguard your organization to prevent problems. So business often use DNS monitoring tool to keep track of DNS performance and security. These tools can check if DNS servers are working well, spot errors or delays in resolving domains, detect security threats like attack on DNS server. So DNS is the backbone of internet, guys. So allowing us to use simple domain names instead of complex IP addresses, While it's a powerful system, it can face challenges. So it's important to monitor and secure DNS to ensure service website services are smoothly. So let's quickly jump to the demonstration. So as we know, we have created this Windows server and one client PC. Windows server we had installed ADDS role. Along with ADDS role, our DNS role was automatically got installed. So the DNS configuration is already done. While creating ADDS roles, we had also created DHCP role and we had configured. With help of DHCP, we are able to get IP on all the computers. We have seen all this demonstration on our previous sessions. So let's quickly go to Server Manager, click on Tools and DNS. You can simply type in DNS in the search bar and you can also open DNS Manager. So as you can see, my DNS server is nothing but our first domain controller server, which is primary domain controller. Expand your forward lookup zones. So as we discuss, there are two zones actually, forward lookup zone and reverse lookup zone. So forward lookup zone stores your DNS entry, which helps you to convert your domain name to IP address, and reverse zone is IP address to host name. So let's check. The moment you configure your DNS after added DS role, automatically your forward lookup zones get configured with your domain name, whatever you have given. So in my case, it's virtuallabinfra.com. So if you click on your virtual lab infra or the domain name, you will able to see certain entries. So first entry you can see Windows DC01, which is my server entry itself with IP address, whatever IP address we had given. So I had created reverse lookup zone. Nothing guys, like you have to right click on new zone, next primary zone, keep the settings default, IPv4. Yes, we are not using any IPv6, so IPv4. Click next. Network you have to give 192.168.1, the third octet of your IP address range. Then click on next. Your reverse zone will get created. So that's it for reverse lookup zone. Now if you click on domain and look at, so what happens if you go to command prompt, type in, so type in ns lookup and give the host name or IP address. So let's give our client machine's host name and let's see what it gives. So if I am giving client PC01, the host name of my client PC, as you can see, it is able to resolve with IP address. So let's quickly verify that as well. So it's logging in. Okay, so this IP we can check one more place, which is DHCP. So DHCP. So if you type in DHCP, we know that we had configure our DHCP, and right, if you go to scope, if you expand your address list, so as you can see 192.168.1.0 client pc.0.virtuallabinfra.com. So this is our IP, and you can see this is able to resolve the IP with the host name. Similarly, if you type ns lookup and type in this IP address, it should give the host name again. So this is only possible. This is only possible because of our DNS configuration. So let's see. If you want to check our DNS details, you can go to CMD and type IP config slash wall. So as you can see, this machine is getting IP from DHCP, yes, DHCP enabled, and IP is getting from that particular DHCP, and the DNS server it says 192.168.1.10, which is our primary DC server. 192.168.1.10. So that confirms that our DNS server is Windows DC01. You will be able to see another IP. So that we'll discuss how we can create two domain controllers and two DHCP roles and DNS, and how one goes down, how the secondary domain controllers take over all the responsibility. That we will discuss. For that testing I had created, and it was successfully replicating everything. So our second DC server and DNS server is reflecting here. So let's quickly understand what are the host records are available in lab, server. So if you click here and okay, sorry, my bad. It was DHCP. Okay, so if you click on forward lookup view and virtual lab infra, your domain, you can right click on it and you can see all the host records. DNS records are available. As we discussed earlier, host A record, CNAME, alias name, MX record. Also, if you want to see other records, you can click on here, click on other new records. You should be able to see other records like text records, PTR record, PTR records. To create any new record, you have to click on new host A. You will have to type, let's say if I have another client PC, which is not, okay, which is already there. So let's simply give a third PC. So I will give client PC03. In our lab, we don't have that PC, but I'm just, for understanding purpose, I'm just giving, let's say 192.168.1.10. So first server was 100, second 101, so it should be 102. Let's give 102. And you'll have to click on this checkbox so that your automatically PTR record will get created. What does it mean? If you uncheck this box and create, you should be able to NS lookup with host name only, which is client PC03. It will give you similar details like client PC03 and the IP address 102. But you won't be able to get the, if you give IP address, you won't be able to get the same detail here like this. So that's the reason, that's the reason we have to click on this, not here, click on this checkbox so that your PTR record, which is a reverse lookup John or PTR record, will get created. So since I don't have the client PC3, so I'm not going to create it, but that's how it works. Now let's understand one more thing. Click clear screen. Okay. Clear the command screen. Type or let me do one thing. So whenever your DNS fails or your DNS doesn't work, you won't be able to NS lookup or ping the DNS server. So always check few things whenever you find your DNS issue or somebody says my application is not able to resolve or load. At that moment, first thing first, ping your DNS server, which is in our case Win DC01. You can give complete virtual lab infra.com. So you will be getting a reply. If this fails, also try NS lookup your DNS server again, Win DC01. You should be able to get these details. Try with IP address, Win DC, NS lookup with IP address, which is 192.168.1.10. 1.10 should be able to get this. If not, you'll have to go ahead and check your DNS server, whether your DNS is working or not, server is pingable or not, your server is up and running or not. Let's check if your DNS server has rebooted recently. So you'll have to check all these things. This is how the DNS records are getting created and we do troubleshootings. So let's say the client PC has some application using and they are not able to do anything. So always ask them to clear them the cache of your browsing history, because browser also has their internal cache. So ask them to clear the cache from the browser for all time favorites, all time cache. So since I have not used anything, so basically you have to close here actually, clicking on delete all time and clear the browsing history. You'll have to type few commands. Let's say IP config slash plus ENS. So what actually it does, it it's actually your clear your DNS entries or DNS cache from your computer. Then again click on type in IP config slash renew DNS, register DNS. Okay, it's asking to elevated access, so you have to open as an administrator on the user's computer or server. Run as administrator. Uh, Click on this. Since this computer is uh, just the client PC, but in the server you will have to check your server reachability or anything, any changes been done or any new patches been applied. But for client PC, it's okay to reboot or can ask the client or the user to reboot the system, and it will automatically clear the cache, and they can try accessing the application again. So IP config renew, sorry, register DNS. So it will re-register your DNS actually. All adaptation has been initiated. Any error will be reported. So this is how you will re-register after flush the DNS. And you can ask them to retry the accessing application or whatever it was not happening. After checking all the DNS, everything is working. So guys, this is how DNS troubleshooting we do in real-time environment. We also check a certain DNS entries. If any DNS entries are missing, let's say still they are not able to, let's say the application is hosted in one of the machine, client PC 01, let's say this is one of the application server. Just for time being, understand that this is a uh, application hosted server, and few clients are not able to access the application. So first thing first, you will come here and check is there any entries are available or not. So just type in client PC 01, like you have to type in keyboard and search if there are multiple of entries, and you will see okay, the record is available, and then you will go ahead and check by NS lookup the IP address or the host name. My bad. Client PC 01. So you should be able to get this information. That means your DNS is working fine and it's able to resolve from host name to IP address or vice versa. Then they should be able to access the users will be able to access the applications whatever hosted for their applications. So that's all for the day, guys. This is how you will troubleshoot DNS or related issues. This is how you will configure DNS records. Hope you have understand the flow of DNS. You understand what is DNS, how exactly it works. Thanks for watching. Let's meet on the next session. Have a great day. Bye bye.